Uncle John's garlic sauce.
That's what I was
Yeah, that is tasty. That is tasty. Okay. Addresses of achievement goals. That's an interesting question, right? So how does somebody form his or her goals, achievement goals? How do you have a propensity? They're not traits, so they're a mid-level thing that we have. So if we had a triangle, which we could have in a couple weeks for the personality, the bottom is the core, kind of where that bedrock foundation is. And then that somehow dictates our mid-level things that we do. And then there's behavioral things that we all do just because of the environment. So most likely, I say it every year, and nobody's ever tempted me on or go, oh, I'm going to do it. Nobody gets up on their chair in class and hoots and hollers and makes a fool of themselves, right? So, because there's a role. We're in class, everybody's professional, we're adults, nobody does that type of stuff. And so we're interested really in how the mid-level stuff comes about, because since we're not really deep into genetics in this class, we don't really, we don't delve into how does our bedrock get formed. It gets formed by culture and our parents, and like half of it you're born with, you're just that way type of stuff. But then we start making decisions that really dictate, our lives. These make huge impacts on our lives. And so from Andy Elliott's 1999 article, which I enjoy so much. It's well written. It's very long. He tries to tell us the addresses of the achievement goals are over there, which we call antecedents. And so, in the have a look in the glass information we did, that's that antecedent part. And so, it's almost that part of, if you want to think about that, you would go, we have the antecedents, we have the goals, which would be still before we have the outcomes or the achievement relevant processes, and that's the empowerment part. And so we've added a middle step with the achievement goals before we get to the empowerment part, because somehow I'm going to frame a reference, again, of competency. Right, you always got to remind yourself, it's about competency. So I go to play a sport, and I'm not at the moment of playing it, but I'm getting pretty close, right? And you walk out there and you go, whoa, that guy's pretty big, right? So then you start doing the competency thing. And so since I said, wow, that guy's pretty big, I've chosen a performance or inter-individual assessment, and I go, wow, I must not be. Or this is going to be really, really tough. And then that whole emotional thing about being empowered, then you put yourself behind the 8 ball. If that's, I don't even know what that means. I don't play pool, but people say that, right? I have somebody I know, it's so funny. He'll say, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Then he'll go, but I don't eat meat, and he's against animal rights testing. I go, okay. He goes, but I don't know how else to say that. I go, well, I'm not offended. I don't shoot birds, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not, not offended. It's so funny when he does it, because every time he explains the whole thing. And so the moment I make that achievement goal, I put one in my forehead, say, okay, that's what I'm thinking about right now. Then I could or could not be empowered. And so if you think about it as an applied sports psychologist, that's somewhere where you could really make an intervention. You could really make a difference in somebody's life. Because you'd have to do, when we get to next week, we'll have some mini lectures on different social cognitive models of motivation that have been around forever, and they're all really good. And one part is this attribution retraining type of method. And so the moment I bring into a situation all my antecedents, all my baggage, right? I'm Captain Juna, right? Legend of Bagger Vance. If you haven't watched it, you want to be applied sports psychologist, you should memorize that movie. Every bit of the movie's true. And one bit of that movie is not true. It's the best movie in the history of movies that have a sports psychology link to it. Every bit of it's true. So Juna's walking around with all that baggage, right? All that baggage she's carrying around from the war, from lost love, from, and unfortunately playing good golf, great golf, is so far back in his repertoire of antecedents he can't remember it anymore. Right, everybody, you see the movie? So you can't remember anymore. And so once people start carrying baggage, somehow, Kayla, when you work with kids, you see this. It's somehow accepted, right? Even bad baggage is accepted because it's comfortable baggage. Because if I go pick up the same backpack I've always used, and it's got a bunch of garbage in it, and a bunch of hurt feelings and stuff like that, it's still easier to put on than a brand new one that's got this, it's real stiff, right? I go to Walmart thinking, I need a new golf bag. You know what I'm saying? Because my one's all messed up, and I really need it. Yeah, kind of, I guess. I don't know. And so I put on these new ones, Shelby, and they're too stiff. All right? I think I'm going to pull a shoulder. I won't get to the tee box, Paul, before I pull a shoulder muscle, right? Because getting the thing on, it's too stiff, right? So if you think about emotional baggage, it's the same thing. So they say, well, why don't you let that go? And it's because it just becomes you. It's comfy bumpy, right? It's an easy made excuse, that's for sure, right? But sometimes it's all you remember, and I mean it's still painful, but it's still comfortable. And so if you think about this thing about antecedents shape us, then we get empowered. You've got to find a way, as an applied sports psychologist, to manipulate the stuff that comes right before empowerment. Because most likely, we don't have a great shot at changing antecedents. Right? The real deep down stuff, it's very difficult to change that. Because with people, you can't even bring out good stuff. I mean, great stuff that's happened to them. All right? And so Captain Juna goes and plays crummy golf, right? So it starts well with a good drive. And the moment there's a first bad shot, well, then it becomes that whole woe is me stuff. I don't want to be here stuff. I would love to not be here. These guys are so much better than me, I can't compete stuff. Right? So that's when Bagger does his little magic on him. Right? See the field, right? Get in the field. Bobby Jones strikes in, and he gets up there and right down the pipe, right? And it's a life-changing event because these thoughts here changed right before he had to swing the club. Right before he had to swing the club, but before you have to swing the club, you have to be empowered. You got to walk. You got to take that first step to the tee box. Anybody play golf? Am I just talking on deaf? It's so brutal. It's so hard. It's so hard, especially when someone else hits the ball well. I play with my tour player. I've said that last week. It is so overwhelming to watch somebody carry a ball 335 yards in the air. It is so overwhelming. And so then you have to go. Then I have to go. You got to find a tee. Got to find the ball. It becomes a really long process. Pull them up, pull them down, and you got to go stick that baby in the ground and figure out how you're going to swing and not look like a fool. Even if you're a good golfer, you're still going to look like a fool. You're going to be 50 yards behind, right? And so it's very difficult. It's very difficult to be a good applied sports psychologist because people have baggage, they bring it into a situation, and then stuff happens too fast. It happens so fast that you can't, you're not there. You can't hold people's hands the whole time. And so my point is that it's a long point, is that you got a shot right here. If you can train people to approach things in the appropriate way, which might be just being better than I was the day before, if I can do that, at least I can get to the playing field. At least I could have a great time. Because all I have to do is be better than myself. And that's why golf, all sports are so hard. Can you imagine playing basketball with LeBron James? I can't. Right? Not now. I couldn't ever. But no. It's my NBA Summer Field-Up Pro League experience. Was it great? Yeah, it was great for the 8 minutes. But the rest of it was like, we practiced for the Lakers, and Nick Van Exel was there. I thought, God, is he like, whoa. Delusional? Sure I was, But then you're not delusional at all, right? See somebody do what they do at that height, right? The guy I was back up for it, won national championship in Arkansas, got 6'4", his arms, you sit there and you go, oh, he smokes. Man, am I in the wrong spot. All right, but I'm smarter than I am tall. I'm not very tall, but I'm smarter than I am tall, so I had a backup. Right? I have a legitimate backup. A lot of people don't. There's no backup plan. And so that's why this is so important when you're working with people who have invested everything they have into that sport or moment or whatever it is. That's why it's so important to be good at your job. And so let's look at a couple of these antecedents as I go on forever. But they're very important ones. And they usually line up about the same, right? So if I have a competence-based variable as an antecedent, I'm a high need for achieve person. Most of us in this room, I'm sure, are high need for achieve people at some level. That's why we're in this room, right? So you've gone past what most people go past. Now you get another degree, and a lot of you talk about getting another degree. So you have a high need for achievement. That should put you in the approach valence goals. You should be a performance or mastery approach person in general more often than you're not, right? That makes perfect sense. People who are high in this fear of rejection, then they get themselves embattled in avoidance goals. And the problem with all that is that once you get embattled in that, then it goes back to the self-fulfilling prophecy thing. All right, so then all of a sudden, I have a fear of rejection. I have my book, right? And if I have to go see somebody about it, God, it'd be so awful. Somebody goes, no, your e-book really stinks. What? I mean, there's 270,000 words. There's 607 pictures. There's 238 videos and 238 pictures, and I can go on and on and on about all my hard work and what I'm doing now. But it hurts, right? If somebody tells you it stinks. And so once I do that, if I have a high fear of rejection, which maybe I do, I don't really know, but it doesn't seem like it, not super high. But then I might start doing behaviors